Good morning. I am Commissioner Dick Marzano, Port of Tacoma President, calling to order a regular meeting of the Port of Tacoma Commission on June 16, 2026. The time now is 10 a.m. Also present are Commissioners Kristen Ang, Deanna Keller, and J.T. Wilcox. Commissioner John McCarthy will join the meeting remotely, and we do have a quorum. Our meeting is being held at the Fabulous Center and streamed live on the meeting page of the Port of Tacoma's website at www.portoftacoma.com. The Commission will now meet in executive session until 12 p.m. to discuss one potential litigation item under RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1 parentheses I, and one minimum price of a real estate lease item, RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1 parentheses C. Thank you. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Eric Johnson, Executive Director, Port of Tacoma. The factors that are allowed to be discussed during executive session that relate to real estate are as follows: the size and zoning of the property, the distance from and connectivity to deepwater marine terminals, the potential for job creation, and consistency with the port's strategic plan. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good afternoon. I am Dick Marzano, current President of the Port Commission. We were in executive session from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m., to 10:54 a.m. to discuss one potential litigation item and one minimum price of a real estate item. Commissioner John McCarthy was present during the executive session and will not be attending the public session. Let's begin, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We would like to acknowledge that we are in the traditional homelands of the Puyallup tribe. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands and continue to do so today. We consider the tribe to be our partners in many of the efforts we undertake. We would also like to recognize June 2026 as Pride Month, acknowledging the achievements of the LGBTQ plus community and celebrate the great diversity of the American people. The first item is to approve today's agenda. We need to make a change in the order of today's agenda and move item 7A, Washington School Administrators Award, to be heard just before the Commission action items. I would call for a motion to that effect if there's any question.
So moved. Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Ang. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, carried. Is there anyone here that would like to make any other changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go now to the Executive Director's report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Eric Johnson, Executive Director, Port of Tacoma. Just a couple of things really quick. First one is really some good news. The Puget Sound Regional Council has decided to honor the adoption of the Tide Flats Sub-Area Plan with this year's Vision 2050 Award. And that's being given to all 5 of the partner governments, the Port, the City of Tacoma, the City of Fife, Pierce County, and the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. And our staff will be working with PSRC staff to get an award ceremony at some time here in the next few months. So we'll let you know when that's going to be. And we want to have all of our partner and colleague agencies and governments join us as well. So that's kind of cool. Speaking of the sub-area plan, we're working cooperatively with the city to make sure that their critical areas ordinances don't conflict with the sub-area plan. And those conversations are going very well. Though the city has not yet adopted their critical areas ordinances in final form yet. And we've also been working cooperatively with the city on interpretations of buffer and mitigation requirements for the Arkema cleanup over on the Hylebos Waterway. Those are going well. We're hoping the Department of Ecology will be able to sign off on that cleanup soon, and we can finally really get going on that. And then in closing, I will say it's summertime. And in summertime, that's when we start our series of public engagement opportunities because the weather's great. So we're going to be participating in the Juneteenth ceremony this coming Friday, and the Pride ceremony on the 11th of July, and the Farmers Market. The next one, I believe, is in DuPont where we're going to have a booth at DuPont on June 25th, which is a week from Thursday. Encourage any of you who want to come out there to the booth or talk with Katie on our staff or Leslie, who could give you the full schedule of farmers market events that are happening. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is our public comment. We will now invite public comment. As a reminder, comment time is limited to 3 minutes per person, and pursuant to RCW 42.56, recorded public comments and public meeting sign-in sheets, including names and any contact information, are provided subject to public disclosure. In addition, we are entering election season. Please note that RCW 29B.45.010 prevents the port from allowing use of its public facilities to support or oppose candidates or ballot measures, which include statements made during public comment at commission meetings. Speakers who violate this restriction will be interrupted and their opportunity to comment will be concluded. When we get to item 6D on today's agenda, which is in consideration of the commission action to support the City of Tacoma's Proposition 1, there will be an opportunity provided for the public to speak in opposition at that time. We will now proceed with the public comment, and because I know they are running a little bit late or want to get to a meeting, I would first call on the mayor and then Corey.
President Marzano, Port Commissioners, Director Johnson, staff, thank you so much for making the time for us and for your accommodation. Tacoma Mayor Anders Ibsen speaking to the topic of the Connect Tacoma effort. So to give you a little bit of background, why we're here to talk about this issue. So it's no secret that infrastructure is a crucial economic development tool for our region, for our area, not to mention vital to the enhancement of public safety in our neighborhoods. It's one of the key things that constituents talk to us about. And as far as we're concerned, you guys are our constituents too. Whether or not you live within the proper City of Tacoma limits, the port is our economic engine. It's a vital partner, and it's something that we want to do our best to enhance for the good of not just the international commerce that comes through here, but the creation and the sustaining of the jobs that our industries and that our region needs. And so it's really crucial that we engage every lever that we can, infrastructure being one of the foremost. And so 10 years ago, the voters of Tacoma passed the propositions, I think it was 1 and A, Corey, that allowed for a dedicated lockbox funding source for infrastructure. The primary focus was on residential sealing and maintenance, but there absolutely was a bucket for industrial and freight corridors. And what the voters have told us is, with the expiration of that, because it was set to a 10-year sunset, that there's absolutely an interest in taking a look at what we can do to reauthorize that, but with a greater focus on, well, frankly, having focus on corridors so as to benefit more from strategic partnerships with our schools and our parks, for example, and absolutely with an economic development focus to enhance our freight corridors, our industrial centers, our downtown, our neighborhood business districts. And so as Corey can speak to shortly, we have a pretty good track record when this was passed of achieving efficiencies ahead of schedule, under budget, for every $1 that the voters authorized. City staff was able to secure an additional $3 in partnership funding and state and federal grants. We have a very capable, efficient engineering operation. And this will be on the ballot this August. My compatriot here, Cora Newton from the Public Works Department, can give a little bit more of the staff perspective for some added nuance. We're happy to answer your questions. And for folks' references, I'm not going to talk about the campaign component, obviously, but in terms of the public engagement, facts and information, it's available if you just look up Connect Tacoma, and the effort already has a passed resolution of support from the Tacoma School Board, one expected next week from Parks Tacoma's board as well. So we're definitely doing our best to improve when it comes to cross-agency collaboration, because we need each other now more than ever. So with that, Corey can give the staff perspective, and he and I are both happy to answer your questions too.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Corey Newton. I'm the Assistant Public Works Director and City Engineer for the City of Tacoma. And just from a facts and data standpoint, the Connect Tacoma resolution, the development of this package was a very public process. It included components from a community levy committee meeting, or multiple meetings, as well as individual stakeholder meetings. So the package has 3 investment themes: better neighborhood streets, safer streets for everyone, and improved connections. The bulk of the package is in our better or safer streets for everyone, and that component is 50% of the package, and that includes freight and arterial streets. So the moving of goods, the transportation, and safe use of our busiest roads is included as the bulk of this package. But it also includes investments in our neighborhood and residential streets, as well as improved connections, trails, multimodal shared use paths, all that. The overall taxing authority, this is a 1.5% gross earnings tax on electricity, natural gas, and phones, as well as 20 cents per 1,000 assessed value property tax. Both those are the same taxing authority as the original street initiative package that expired at the end of 2025. So the taxing authority is the same structure as the previous street initiative. This is a total $320 million package that includes $200 million in local levy funds. Those funds are anticipated to be leveraged or multiplied with state and federal grants, including $90 million is anticipated in state and federal grants, plus $30 million in partnerships, such as the projects that we have done with the Port of Tacoma in the past. And that concludes my comments. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. As is a practice, is that we don't get into a question and answer period at this time, but if we do have some, we'll reach out and ask that for sure, but we do thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you both. Okay, Reggie Reese, Buffalo Soldiers, or Jackie, whichever one wants to go first.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Reggie Reese and I are here to present on behalf of the Buffalo Soldiers Museum and Community Building Partners in support of our military families who protect and defend. The military is a major economic resource for Pierce County, and Pierce County hires the most employers and brings in a lot of revenue. So today we appeal to the commission, to the Port Commission for in the Community Connect program. This is a win-win for the Port of Tacoma, Seaport Alliance, in the support of the Labor Day Festival. The Labor Day Festival is on Monday, September the 7th, to honor our military forces, past, present, and future. And it's a way for the working class to have an improved quality of life. And certainly now more than ever is a time that family time is needed. The highlight of the day is when active duty Army versus Air Force plays a softball game, and also longshoremen and firefighters will play a softball game. Again, this is held at Sheeny Stadium on Labor Day. It is free and open to the public, and so the sponsorships helps us to cover our costs. So we invite the Port and the Community Connection to host a table at the event, and we respectfully request your support in community building as the military is a vital partner for the Port of Tacoma.
Thank you. Jackie, could you please state your name for the record? Sorry.
My name is Jackie, two last names, Jones, Jones -Hook, Hook.
Thank you.
We would like to thank you, commissioners, and those in attendance for hearing us today. And I would like to just throw out a special invitation for those of you who have not attended the Labor Day Festival. It is an amazing opportunity and well attended for the public to come out and just relax and unwind. It's a free event. And I'd also like to invite those in attendance to visit the Buffalo Soldiers Museum right here in Tacoma. If you have not visited, please do yourselves a favor. This effort to keep the legacy and the memory of the Buffalo Soldiers alive is extended to public schools, It's extended to the military and to the community at large. We have a lot of people to come by and tour the museum, and I just want you to know that as part of Tacoma and this region, we are very, very proud to nationally present the Buffalo Soldier's legacy, as we have done so for many government entities across the country. So I thank you again for allowing us to speak today, and the invitation. Please don't forget, come out. Thank you.
Well, thank you both very much. Appreciate it. For my fellow commissioners, it's a ball game between the two military people, but also with the ILW against the firefighters. I did attend, and I have been to the museum, and I would recommend it, highly recommend it. Thank you both. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to have public comment or say anything? Seeing nobody rushing, this will conclude our public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll now go to consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered routine and taken up by one motion and vote unless any commissioner requests an item be removed for individual consideration. The consent agenda consists of the approval of the minutes of May 7th, 2026, disbursement certifications during the period of 4/23/26 to 6/3/26, check numbers 5532 to 5723 and 5725 to 5885 in the amount of $11,875,683.44, and electronic payments in the amount of $10,221,121.39 for a total of $22,096,804.83. That's a lot of money, folks. Check number 5724 in the amount of $4,580.75 to the State Auditor's Office, and the First Amendment to the Seaport Sound Terminal LLC easement, and the ILA agreement with the City of Tacoma McKinley Overlook Project. Are there any requests to remove any of these items from our consent agenda? Seeing none, do I hear a vote to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Ang. No questions or discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries. Thank you. And let's see. Special order of business, I believe we are right now. Eric, I'll let you.
Yeah, we're going to have to call an audible on this one, Mr. President. Mr. Koulos is on his way, but he's not here yet.
Okay.
So we moved him up, and what we need to do is undo what you did and move him back. So all we need is a motion, I believe, Heather can help me here, to move item 7A back to its original spot on the agenda, and then we're set.
Okay, it'll be so moved unless there's an objection. I don't see any. Kind of hard to go forward without anybody here. So we'll just go to regular commission actions now at this time. This is business section where items are brought forth by commissioners or staff that require a commissioner vote. So I'll let you introduce the first one, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first two items here are both environmental. The first one relates to a cleanup site that we've been working on with, as a consortium of people for a very long time on the Hylebos Waterway. And we're hoping this will, I believe, allow us to finally wrap this up after, well, Rob can tell you how long it is in its presentation. So here's Rob Healy.
Good afternoon. Rob Healy for the record, Director of Remediation and Water Quality for the Port of Tacoma. This is an exciting milestone for me. This was the first project I started working on my first week, the mouth of the Hylebos cleanup. It is a project that the port has been working on since the late 1990s. And then the specific action that we have got 2 agreements that commissioners will have to approve, and that will close out our obligations for the American Construction Habitat Area. So I have 2 authorization requests. The first is for the executive director to execute the First Amendment to an October 2004 agreement regarding the Hylebos Waterway Sediment Area 421B, remedial design, remedial activities, and excess nearshore confined disposal site capacity. And the second authorization is for the executive director to enter in an agreement to purchase excess credit that addresses the sediment management area habitat mitigation acreage. The graphic on the right shows all the Hylebos properties that needed to be addressed under the mouth of the Hylebos. So this project started in the late 1990s with design. It was a program at the time. When I came on board, we were transitioning away from programs. This had been transitioned to a project, and there were just a few things that needed to be addressed to close out the project. The first was cost recovery for the completed remedy. That's been done for a number of years. The second was baseline sediment monitoring. That's done. What wasn't done at the time, or very, very quickly, was American Construction's habitat area. That has now been constructed. We're still waiting for EPA approval of that, which is anticipated in 2026, by the end of this year. The project authorization was for $2.2 million approximately. The project cost to date is $1.5 million, so we do have extra funding to pay for excess credits. Before I dive into the details around the mitigation conversation with American Construction, I wanted to give an overview of the total project, because it wasn't just the mouth of the Hylebos that was cleaned up. The head of the Hylebos was also cleaned up, and then the wood debris group. So it was done by different parties. The port teamed with Occidental and addressed the mouth, which is segments 5, 4, and 3. Segment 4, there's that blue area. That was dredged. That is in front of the Hylebos waterfront property, American Construction property. So it was supposed to be capped, but it was dredged instead. Segment 2 was addressed by Arkema and General Metals, and then segment 1 was addressed by the wood debris group. So that was Weyerhaeuser and other wood products companies. So there's a long history here, and I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. The graphic on the right is the details of what was done, so the dredging that was done. It was supposed to have been capped. It was designed to have been capped when Steve Brannon, the owner of the Hylebos waterfront property and the former owner of the American Construction Company, moved from Everett to Tacoma to specifically help on our problems. He approached the EPA and asked that it be dredged instead of capped. He also approached the port and Occidental, and that's where that 2004 agreement came from. So in 2004 to 2006, Oxy and the port implemented the sediment remedy in the mouth of the Hylebos. American Construction implemented the dredging in front of their property. This contaminated sediment in front of their property was placed in a confined disposal facility on slip 1. And then we transitioned after that into kind of the paperwork side of things. So one point here, American Construction posted a $1 million performance bond that was supposed to cover the obligation of building that habitat site. And they've been paying the bond fees on that ever since. For many years, American Construction and Steve Brannon, the owner, worked to identify an appropriate habitat site. They designed one on their property, but it was too small to meet the obligations. At some point, it became apparent that that wasn't going to work, so we started looking at other options. So we looked at many, not just the three, not just the two to the right, but we looked out at the outer Hylebos, kind of tucked in between where our Echo site is going to be and where an existing NRD site is, and it was determined it wasn't going to work because it was too close to the navigation channel. We looked at selling credits to American Construction from our Places Circling Waters, but Mr. Brannon felt he could get a better deal elsewhere. And with the help of the EPA, he finally found a better opportunity for this site, and it's out on Dune Peninsula, Ruston Way. And the idea was there are these riprap slopes. Let's bring in some smaller cobbles, stones, rounded, so that the fish will have better habitat. So that's what they did. They built 1.6 acres of that. They anticipated they might lose some acreage because of kind of wind wave action. After a year of monitoring, they determined they got approval for the verbal approval from the EPA for a full 1.6 acres, which is excess of what is needed. So he offered to let us participate in this to purchase the excess credits. So we've revised the report to allow that to happen. EPA is on board. It still has to go through final approvals, but we are expecting that formal approval by the end of the year. Here's a highlight summary of the terms of the two agreements. Again, there are two agreements. The first is to amend the 2004 agreement, and the second is to purchase excess credits. So we are going to deliver a release of bond form to the Hylebos waterfront property 20 days after the effective date of the amendment, and then they will turn around and revise the remedial action construction report. When EPA gives final approval of that, the amendment states that all their obligations are complete. The report, it will be submitted right after Commission approves this, and then EPA will be waiting for EPA's approval. Once we get EPA's approval, then the port will issue a check to the Hylebos waterfront property for $320,058. $320,058. It's a mouthful. So in conclusion, I'm requesting authorization for the executive director or his delegate to execute the First Amendment to the October 2004 agreement regarding Hylebos Waterway Sediment Management Area 421B, remedial design, remedial activities, and excess nearshore confined disposal site capacity. And secondly, I'm requesting authorization for the executive director or his delegate to enter into an agreement to purchase excess Hylebos Waterway Sediment Management Area 421B habitat mitigation acreage from the Hylebos Waterfront Property, LLC, and American Construction Company.
Thank you, Rob. What I will be asking for is a motion and a second for the first request. We'll be handling as two separate motions. So is there a motion and a second for questions and discussion on the first request?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Wilcox, second by Commissioner Eng. Questions or comments with regards to the first request? Seeing none. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Do I hear a motion for the second request?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Eng. Questions and or comments? I'll just make a real quick one. And one of the things that I think most people that are sitting out here understand and know is how long this has taken. You know, this is not something we just looked at overnight. We've had a lot of executive sessions with regards to this. Staff has been working on this for over 20 years. It's another step moving forward. And I know I can say this on behalf of the commission. We want to thank the staff for the hard work and dedication they've done for this. We're very proud of the fact of our environmental cleanups and making contaminated properties productive again. So, and that's a reflection upon all of you that do all this hard work. So just wanted to make sure that was noted. So with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
And I think you're up again, right?
Yeah, I'm up to introduce the next,
Oh,
the next
you're gonna
request.
hand it off, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm handing it off. So the this is the Arkema Manufacturing Area project authorization increase. Brett Oslin is our project engineer. Scott Hooten is our environmental project manager in the wings here to address any questions. We were here in November of last year asking for approval to get into an agreed order to implement the remedy, and also a construction estimate or a construction authorization. We were at 70% design at the time. We've learned some things. We found more concrete foundation issues to deal with. We've been negotiating with the city on buffers and other things, but I'm gonna hand it off to Brett so he can walk you through the details around this authorization increase request.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rob. As Rob stated, my name is Brett Oslin, and I am a project manager for the engineering department. Today, I'm here to request project authorization in the amount of $2 million for a total authorized amount of $12,862,000 for work associated with the Arkema Manufacturing Area, project ID 101-585.01. We've requested project authorization from Commission multiple times, so I'm going to try and keep the background as brief as possible, but the former Arkema manufacturing property is regulated under a 2011 Ecology Agreed Order requiring completion of a remedial investigation, feasibility study, and cleanup action plan under MOTCA. At this time, a cleanup is not easily identified, so Ecology and the Port have agreed to implement an interim action work plan, or IAWP, to start cleaning up the site. The IAWP has two major components. The first component is construction of a containment wall. The second component of the IAWP is construction of an asphalt cap. During our previous visit to Commission in November of 2025, staff asked for authorization to amend the agreed order for the site to actually implement the IAWP, which has been implemented, as well as authorization for construction funding to build the containment wall. Following that request, we have revised and updated the construction estimate for the containment wall and need an additional $2 million to complete the work. This cost increase is primarily due to the need to shift scope of work from the site capping phase into the containment wall phase. I'm going to shift about how I identify these work components and just describe it by phase as opposed to saying containment wall. But our design for the site considers all 39 acres of the parcel and assumes remediation and development is going to occur over 5 phases. Our discussion today is going to focus on the first 2 work phases, which are the 2 elements of the IWP, and this is illustrated on this slide. The phase 1 area is the containment wall and sits in the center of the site and includes the wall as well as the wall work area. Phase 2 is the 24-acre asphalt cap, which surrounds the containment wall area, and this is illustrated in blue. The blue represents asphalt pavement. Phases 3, 4, and 5 will follow as regulatory conditions allow, but ultimately the whole site will be covered in this blue graphic, and the port will have one complete parcel that we can lease to a potential tenant. The trigger for the additional authorization request was that we identified demolition scope of work from the Phase 2 estimate that was not appropriately transferred over to the Phase 1 estimate. The site is covered in a variety of historical artificial hardscape. This includes amalgamation of deteriorated asphalt pavement, concrete slabs, concrete foundations, and other miscellaneous debris. The cost that was presented to Commission previously in November only included demolition costs within the immediate footprint or corridor of the wall construction. But what the work demands is a larger, clean, and obstruction-free footprint. And at the end of Phase 1, the 9.6-acre wall area will be covered in rock, graded, and will drain surface water to elements of the permanent stormwater conveyance and treatment system. And in order to accomplish all this Phase 1 work, we need an obstruction-free site. We had demolition in the Phase 1 estimate that was presented to Commission, but we simply didn't take enough of the Phase 2 demolition. And what we're proposing to do with this updated plan is to take approximately 60 to 75% of the demolition that was in Phase 2 and complete this work in Phase 1. With contingency, this transfers approximately $1.4 million in cost from Phase 2 to Phase 1. In the midst of our demolition costing woes, the Arkema design team was alerted to similar ongoing demolition work that's occurring at the historic Occidental chemical site just up the road. Through the grapevine, we learned that they were encountering much larger and more significant foundations, which led us to want to confirm our assumptions about the Arkema demolition. We went out there in in January or February and core drilled some of the foundations, and what we found is that some of the foundations were up to 3 times thicker than what we'd originally anticipated in the previous estimate, and this resulted in some of our unit rate costs going up by a factor of 4. So not only did our volume of demolition increase, but also the costs as well. But this increase in cost is reflected in the updated authorization request. We did evaluate trying to shift some of the demolition costs back to phase 2 to be more aligned with the original cost estimate presented to commission. We determined that we could shift approximately $350,000 in cost maybe back to phase 2, but this shift would cost us an additional $30,000 to $40,000 in additional design fees to reconfigure our drawings. So what staff has determined is we need to complete this demolition, and the most cost-effective way of doing it is to do as much demolition in phase 1 as possible to get the best contractor pricing. There was another significant cost discrepancy on the cost estimate. The unit pricing that was used for the storm drainage installation in phase 2 took advantage of high-quality fill material that was going to be brought onto site as part of the phase 2 work. This backfill material is not available in phase 1 and needs to be brought onto site to appropriately install the storm drainage infrastructure. So again, we're requesting that the project is able to shift some scope of work from phase 2 to phase 1. To put this work into a visual perspective, this slide shows aerials of the remnant hardscape remaining on site. All this hard surface eventually needs to be removed, but what we're proposing to do is complete most of this removal in phase 1 in lieu of phase 2. And we need this hardscape gone to install the containment wall and containment wall drainage basins. This is just another aerial of the site that shows the core of the manufacturing facility where we propose to do most of the phase 1 work. There's also a first-person view or boots on the ground view of some of the remnant foundations and slabs that need to be removed. This project is ready to bid on the port end, but we are working through one remaining notable project risk element. MOTCA-related work is exempt from the explicit requirements of city permits, but cleanup work does need to meet the permit requirements to the extent practical. Ecology and the city are still coordinating on our cleanup work within the shoreline buffer, and if any vegetation removed within the buffer will require mitigation. And we're here today asking for authorization with this noted risk because we're fighting to achieve project schedule. We do have 2 outfalls that are permitted through the Army Corps of Engineers. They need to be installed by February of 2027. So we're trying to advance this work just as quickly as possible so we're prepared to bid this work and get these outfalls installed. If the authorization request is approved, our plan is to advertise for bids just as soon as possible, hopefully this June, but with the coordination still happening between Ecology and the city, this might not be until July, but Ecology has approved the IAWP, the 90% submittal, and we're just waiting on the final approval of the 100% submittal. Once the work is put out for bid, we hope to complete phase 1 in October of 2027. At the conclusion of the dry working construction season. I'm going to be flipping back and forth between 2 slides. This slide shows our current financial, and the second slide shows the financials previously presented to commission to highlight the changes in cost. But currently, phase 1, the construction or the containment wall is estimated to cost $10.32 million. It was previously estimated at $8.32 million, representing an increase in cost of $2 million. Phase 2, or the construction capping, is currently estimated to cost $28.6 million. It was at $30 million, representing a shift in $1.4 million from phase 2 to phase 1. The total project cost previously presented to commission was for both phases was $40,862,000, and now we currently estimate that to complete both phases, it will be $41,462,000, which represents a net increase in total project cost of $600,000. We have permits necessary to complete this work. The primary permit is an Army Corps of Engineers permit to install the outfalls, which is the primary driver for queuing up this authorization and having sufficient funding to go out for bid. We do have a general construction stormwater permit through Ecology, so the team is ready to bid this work pending one final approval. In closing, I'm here to request project authorization in the amount of $2 million for a total authorized amount of $12,862,000 for work associated with the Arkema Manufacturing Area, project ID 101-585.01.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Ing, seconded by Commissioner Keller. Questions, discussion? Commissioner Ing.
I just wanted to thank the team as well as Ecology, because anytime we can accelerate the cleanup on the tide flats, I'm happy to support that. As well as we know, it's good for the environment, but it is the creation of short-term construction jobs and long-term marine cargo jobs. And as someone once told me from our government affairs, that every dollar spent on remediation is $7 back in long-term payrolls and $32 in revenue. So it's an investment in that there is a shortage of industrial lands in Pierce County. So anytime we can clean up ours to put it back to good use, that's a great benefit for our community. So happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? A quick question. You mentioned Ecology has not made their final decision. Would you anticipate anything that could come up the works, let's put it that way, with Ecology?
Can you say that a little bit louder with
Well,
Ecology?
Ecology has not made a final decision on the city shoreline permit. Do you foresee anything that would, make this kind of even harder to do?
Not currently. I mean, the staff
I know.
perspective is
You have to, mind read for Ecology. That's kind of tough.
Yeah, I think Ecology just wants to socialize what we're doing better with the city of Tacoma and get City on Tacoma to the board to the extent that they can. Right now, I think that there's going to be more discussion on phase 2 and the asphalt capping, but the containment wall is sort of the low-hanging fruit in terms of completing remediation. So I think both Ecology and the city will be on board with phase 1, and there'll be some further discussion with phase 2.
Thank you. Jason?
Hey, thank you, Commissioners. Jason Jordan, Director for Environmental and Planning. Just to follow up on Brett's comments, late breaking news. We understand that the city has deemed that this phase will not require any mitigation. So that word's being passed on to Ecology, then Ecology can finalize that.
Good.
That news came in just late last week, so it's relatively late breaking. So we're not expecting any on this phase of the project.
I noticed you said this phase. Okay, thank you. Okay, no further discussion or questions. All those in favor of the motion in front of you signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Eric, you want to introduce the next item?
Sure, I will. In wrapping up the last presentation, I was just going to say it's further evidence of my axiom that when you dig in the tide flats, you never know for sure what you're going to find.
Exactly.
So now we're on to probably the most exciting presentation of the day, to be honest with you, the second reading of the Saxum cold storage lease. You did first reading several months ago. This has been a long project of negotiation, 18 months. We've had a number of staff that have been working very, very hard on this. I want to call out Einar, who's about to give the presentation, Debbie Sheepak, our real estate director, and Julia Shimish from our attorney's firm, Heather Burgess's firm, Dixon Froelich, have done really, really solid work on this for a long, long time. A lot of late meetings, a lot of Friday afternoon conference calls, and I'll let Einar take it from there.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Einar Roden, Senior Manager of Business Development and Real Estate. This is the second reading of the Saxum Investment Company LLC lease. Today, the action requested is for authorization for the Executive Director or his designee to enter into a 50-year ground lease with Saxum Investment Company or affiliated entity for the premises, which include approximately 30 acres of land at 1221 East Alexander Avenue in Tacoma. Some background, Saxum is a investment company that develops industrial buildings, cold storage facilities, and housing projects. They were founded in 2014. They're based in Summit, New Jersey. Their portfolio includes about $3.4 billion worth of capitalizations. And Saxum has identified the Port of Tacoma as a strategic location to build approximately 574,000 square feet of cold storage and food processing facilities. The proposed development includes the following buildings. This is still subject to revision, but this is the latest that I have. 113,000 square foot processing facility, 10,000 square feet of office space, 210,000 square feet of cold storage in one building, a 19,000 square foot rail dock, and a 222,000 square foot cold storage building in a second building. This project is going to create a lot of jobs. The developer's estimates are up to 400 new or expanded jobs going to be created as a result of this project. And there's up to $43 million in annual new wages created, 15,000 additional trucking loads per year, 17,000 additional container loads per year. And port-related commerce is expected to grow by as much as 2.5%. So here we're looking at the location. It's on the peninsula between the Blair and the Hylebos waterways. This is a photo of the way the site would look today. And here we're looking at the site design with the overlay of the site concept. So that's the layout of the building. Lease terms. We are looking at 30 acres to construct and operate cold storage facilities. The lease commencement date will be approximately December 1st, 2026, which is our estimated date of delivery of the property. The rent commencement date will be the sooner of the completion of the first building or 2 years, whichever occurs sooner. Lease term is 50 years with 3 10-year options. Initial rent is $234,000 per month, plus leasehold excise tax. The rent escalations will happen every 5 years based on the CPI index, not to exceed 3% per year compounded annually. There's also fair market rent resets, which will occur at year 26 and every 10 years thereafter. Those are capped at 15% over the previous month's rent. Security deposit is 6 months' rent plus leasehold excise tax. That's a variance from our master policy, but the variance is mitigated by the fact that the developer is putting approximately $250 million of their own funds into this project. There will be a right of first offer at the end of the lease term, and after all the extensions are exhausted, the tenant will have the first right of offer to lease. The tenant will make a $500,000 deposit at lease signing and upon receipt of a zoning letter from the city, and they'll make a second deposit of $980,000 called an entitlement deposit at the lease commencement date. Each deposit becomes non-refundable after 60 days and will be applied toward the security deposit. And insurance, contractors' performance bond, construction completion guarantee, builder's risk insurance, $5 million of general liability, and $2 million of auto liability. So with that, the action requested today is authorization for the executive director or his designee to enter into a 50-year ground lease with Saxum Investment Company or affiliated entity for the premises, which include approximately 30 acres of land at 1221 East Alexander Avenue.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved?
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Eng, seconded by Commissioner Keller. Questions or comments? Commissioner Keller.
Einar, I want to thank you for all the work that you and the other real estate team members did on this as well. And I also want to make sure, I'll put this out there publicly, but there was a representative from Saxum who came out and met with commissioners, answered commissioner questions. So I want to appreciate their desire for this partnership. So I wanted to thank them for that as well. But thanks, Einar.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Lorraine?
Yes, I'm very happy with this project. I want to thank the team. It took a while, but we got it right. 43 million in revenue and 400 jobs. I'm very happy about that in cold storage. But I do want to ensure the public, so I'm going to ask a question, of course. Given that this project includes food processing, cold storage, truck loading, rail activity, where the port will also complete environmental remediation, can you speak to the odor control measures, some of the environmental protections and compliance that will be in place to ensure this facility operates responsibly and kind of negate some of the impacts?
Yes, we've built in odor mitigation as part of the lease contract, and the developer has pledged to use state-of-the-art technologies to mitigate odors. Now, I want to make a comment that the product that's coming into the cold storage warehouse is already generally frozen, and so it's kind of cold going in, cold going out. There's not going to be a lot of low temperature, proteins being processed in any kind of facility, so the risk of odor is fairly low to start with. But they're going to implement odor control mechanisms to keep, such as climate-controlled garbage areas and a few other ideas to keep the odors down so that doesn't become a nuisance to the community. And they've made a commitment to that.
Thank you. I just want to say that the project is an important investment in our region in terms of the creation of almost like 400, expanded to about 400 jobs, and allow more local seafood and food products to be processed here in North America rather than making a trip to Asia Pacific, which saves the round trip and greater efficiency, stronger supply chain. That our port is already one of the top in terms of cold storage, but this will even make it stronger. So this is such a strong benefit for our community and for our environment, saving those trips on the ships, that this is truly a win-win for everyone. So I just want to thank everyone from real estate to environment and to Saxum for making this all happen. Thank you.
Okay, just very quickly, I want to thank Eric also. Eric was the individual who said, wait a minute, when they first came down here and said, here's a spot for you along 509, wait a minute, I got a better spot for you. And that started the ball rolling and stuff like that. And I couldn't say it better than Commissioner Ang with regards to the family wage jobs, cleaning up the environment. This is something that the port strives to do. And I do like Saxum coming out here and answering questions, becoming a Mariner fan slowly but surely. Okay. But I do appreciate this will be a partnership that we'll be very proud of for a long time to come. So with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And Aaron,
Thank you.
real estate, thank you all. Thank you, Matt.
I was
Appreciate
going
it.
to say, there's a representative from Saxum here, Mr. Matt Wassel.
Yeah.
Is in the audience. If he wants to say a word or something, he could.
Yeah. He'll probably say, in Jeter we trust. I know that's coming.
Hello, everybody. For the record, my name is Matt Wassel, one of the principals at Saxum. I did sign off an email by saying "In Jeter we trust" to the Board of Commissioners, so I'm also a very excited Knicks fan. So, no, just all around, huge effort by everybody involved. Appreciate the commissioners listening to what we want to put here, asking very thoughtful questions. It's been a pleasure getting to know everybody. Eric, Einar, Debbie, everyone else involved. Apologies for not mentioning everyone by name, but it's been a long fought effort to get it done, and now it's exciting to finally be on the same side of the table and get this thing built. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Next item on the agenda, as I look through my papers and trying to find it, oh, here it is. I would like to move that the Port of Tacoma Commission support the City of Tacoma's Proposition 1, Connect Tacoma Safe Streets and Sidewalk Levy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it is moved by me and seconded by Commissioner Keller. Pursuant to RCW 29B.40.250, members of the Port Commission or the public shall be afforded approximately equal opportunity to express an opposing view to the position to be taken. I invite any commissioner to speak in support or in opposition and pose any questions, comments, or amendments. First of all, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition since the motion is in support? Seeing none, any commissioner that would like to speak in opposition?
I'd like to speak at the vote.
Okay, well, this is going to be the vote. This will be before the
Thank you.
vote, so go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. I have, in my past life, had the opportunity to vote on several multi-billion-dollar transportation packages. And I ended up forming a approach, I think, that has been important to me, and I'm going to try to stick with it this time. I voted both yes and no on the packages. In fact, probably the most difficult phone call that I made as a legislator was calling a couple of past Tacoma Pierce County Chamber presidents and telling them that I was going to be no on a package that they had asked me to vote for. And I told them I was pretty sure that when it specified a group of projects that I felt was fair across the state, I would be yes. And the next year, that happened, and I was able to be a yes. I've always felt that transportation packages and other major infrastructure efforts are a different kind of a tax vote. You're voting for hard assets to build the economy, and that's a core function of government. So I don't have a philosophical opposition at all, and I totally understand my colleagues that are going to be yes. But in this case, there's not a specified package, and so it's hard for me to support one that I wouldn't have supported in my former role. So I'm going to be no, but I wanted to explain why I'd be no, and why it's a conditional no, and why I have great respect for those who are going to be yes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? See, Commissioner Eng.
I actually understand Commissioner Wilcox's reasoning, and that also caused me some hesitation. But I will support this particular resolution simply because I do want these transportation projects to have the funding ready to go. But I do want to see the whole entire package. But I feel like on balance, I'm going to push for transportation project funding right away. But I definitely understand where you're coming from, because that's also one of the things that made me hesitate. Thank you.
Yep, I agree. Commissioner Keller.
I also want to thank Commissioner Wilcox for his ideas, and I really appreciated that, so I totally understand. I think two of us worked on the Tide Flats sub-area plan, Commissioner Marzano and myself, and having 5 governments come together. I also serve on the Joint Municipal Action Committee, which is very Tacoma-centric, and that's why you heard some recommendations when Mayor Ibsen was talking about some of the different projects that the school board is going to also vote to support, and so will Parks Tacoma. They're going to take a vote as well. And in the spirit of wanting to make sure that we are a community and that we're helping support infrastructure needs, I'll be voting yes, and that's the reason why. But I really do, again, appreciate Commissioner Wilcox's ideas with regard to what he had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no other comments or questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead.
Just in the quick matter of personal privilege, I just signed the 2 leases for Saxum, and I wondered if you wanted to take a break
Let's
from
do that.
photographs.
So Matt doesn't have to stick
Matt
around
doesn't
here the
have to
whole time and listen to everything. That sounds good. We'll stand in recess real quick while we sign the documents and go from there. Okay, I think we're back and all set. So next item on the agenda, I'll turn it over to Heather with regards to amended and restated bylaws.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Heather Burgess, for the record, your Port Legal Counsel. I'm here this afternoon to request Commission approval of Resolution 2026-05 PT, which is adopting your Port of Tacoma Commission 2026 amended and restated bylaws. Just by way of a little background, this has been a bit of a work in progress for some time, and look forward to continuing that work today. Back in January of 2025, the commission chose to create a temporary bylaws committee to work on conducting the annual review of the bylaws that's called for in the document. That committee did meet in 2025 and held initial discussion, but was delayed due to other commission priorities. Back in your April meeting, the commission created a new temporary bylaws committee to complete the process. That committee met with me on April 26, 2026 to come up with some changes. At your last meeting, which was just on May 7th, the bylaws committee reviewed the final proposed red line draft with the commission as a whole and solicited feedback for me to include in a final version of the updated bylaws to be presented for commission adoption. And that's what I have in front of you today. So Commissioner Marzano, what your pleasure is, if you want me to go through all this detail of what's changed as part of the presentation, I can, or I can skip that and you can go right to discussion. I'm open to either one. I don't want to bore you with information that you already might have.
Right. My preference, and I'd let any of my members say anything and move forward, is to move forward. We've had this in front of us for quite some time. I know there's some amendments that are going to be proposed. So I would think it'd be best to move this with the amendments, take care of that, and then handle the whole motion if and as amended. Does that sound okay to you?
It does. So what I think I heard you say was you're going to put it on the floor so that you have something in front of you and then proceed with amendments.
Exactly.
So did you want me to go through the detailed presentation of what you have in front of you, or do you want to go right to that process?
Go ahead real quick. Go ahead, Ferg.
Sure thing. So again, this is a high-level summary, and in your packet you have a red line version which shows the changes from the current, those changes are from the current bylaws that you have, the 2024 version, to today. In Article 2, Paragraph 1, I've added language addressing the scope of communications that are subject to the limitation of that paragraph. And based on the discussion last time, that's shown in italics, I made it a further revision, adding the word external and struck to a governmental entity or leader, or that was intended to clarify that provision. In paragraph 2, I added clarifying language regarding the treatment of requests for future agenda items made during new business to align with the process that you use for requests outside of commission meetings. I did not make any further changes to that section after your discussion last month. In Article 3, made clarification about the timing of election of officers. Again, that's unchanged since you discussed this last month. In the paragraphs 4 and 8, I did make further revisions that you see there in italics. I added a provision providing that assignments to boards and committees will be equitably distributed among the commission. And in paragraph 8, to allow another commissioner to attend and act in the place of an assigned commissioner for a committee or work group meeting if required due to an irreconcilable scheduling conflict. I know that's a lot of words. I just want to say we did that so that we wouldn't have to have a special commission action appointing a member to a committee, if specifically the audit committee, in the event that we had an irreconcilable scheduling conflict, because otherwise that wasn't permitted. So that's a lot of words just to fix that rarely occurring problem. In Article 3 also, provisions to outside boards remain the same as you saw last month. However, I did make a further revision which has some explanatory detail in the memo addressing conflicts of interest. I moved all of that to a new paragraph 10 and replaced may with shall in the last sentence regarding recusal for the reasons discussed in the accompanying memo. In Article 5, this is unchanged. We eliminated, right after COVID, the commission wanted to meet more frequently. And so we added a bunch of meetings that ultimately proved not to be needed in the long term, and so this provision adjusts that meeting sequence back down, leaving the extra meeting only in November when you need it for your budget. And then in Article 6, made some technical revisions to the order of commission business, and then a clarification in new business to conform with the changes made in Article 2, Paragraph 2. Nothing was changed here since you saw this in May. And that's the end of the summary of changes. So with that, request commission approval of the resolution.
Thank you. Just to make sure I'm clear, what I would do now is probably put that in the form of a motion and a second, and then ask for the amendments if necessary.
Yes, and if there's a number of amendments, it would be helpful if you could take them one at a time,
We
just so
will.
I can track them appropriately.
Will do.
But I defer to the commission how it wants to handle
Yeah.
it.
So with that, I would entertain a motion and a second to put this on so we can get into the other business.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Keller and moved by Commissioner Ang, second by Commissioner Keller, sorry. Okay, with that, we've heard everything from Ms. Burgess, so therefore, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Keller.
Thank
I
you.
know you have some amendments.
Thank you, and I also want to thank legal counsel Heather Burgess. I tracked some of my requested amendments, and then I'm going to, it'll be changed, I believe. Our clerk has those suggestions, and I'll read what you had written in the way that you wrote it, because I think it's really great advice. Thank you so much for
great.
that.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is actually pretty easy. You'll find it in Article 2, Section 1N, and it talks about the Commission International Travel. And typically the Port of Tacoma, and this was old language from way back before the Northwest Seaport Alliance was created. So I was suggested we change it from just standardly everything international travel to Commission International Travel paid for by the Port of Tacoma shall be approved in advance by the vote of the Commission. Because the Northwest Seaport Alliance expends their own dollars amount for international travel and for business, it just made sense. And I know I worked on the bylaws in 2020, and I know that it did carry over from old bylaws from before. So that would be my recommendation, my first amendment.
Okay, is there a second to that amendment?
So just to clarify for the record and for the benefit of our clerk down there, the amendment, Commissioner Keller, I just want to make sure as tracked for the record, is inserting the language paid for by the Port of Tacoma in paragraph 1N.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
I said questions.
Yeah. Is there a second to the amendment? Okay, second. Go ahead, Commissioner Keller. Ang.
So the only changes to this one is just paid for by the Port of Tacoma?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of that amendment as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Great.
Okay, next.
That was easy.
You're fine.
Okay.
They're going to get harder.
I know. I get that too.
I guess I should ask her, what's the effect of having it and not having it by paperwork, right? I mean, I know that you guys don't do anything with the travels that we pay for ourselves on our personal, but having it paid for by Port of Tacoma, does that signify anything with regards to the Seaport Alliance, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep, and I think it was confusing for the public also before. You know,
Okay.
you see all this international travel, but the Port of Tacoma is voting on it and not paying for it. So I just thought makes it less confusing. The next one that I put in there was in Article 2, Sections 2 and 4, and felt that they were conflicting. And I think that and it was legal counsel's recommendation that in article, and help me with this, Heather, tell me if I'm correct or not, but it was, we put in there for the red line, talks about desire to have any issue, project, commitment of resources, or other matter considered at a future commission meeting may take a request during the new business section of regular commission meetings if the request has the support of at least one other commissioner. In retrospect, I was thinking that it would be better to be a quorum. I'm deciding that I'm not going to propose anything further with regard to that. So I know commissioners have some of my recommended changes, so I'm explaining, what I did with that. So the next one is Article.
Well, real
I'm
quick,
sorry.
just for clarity, so what you're doing is basically not submitting that amendment?
Correct.
Okay, got it,
Yep.
thank you.
So don't worry about it, in other words. So,
Yeah.
So the other one is Article 3, Section 2 from, I suggested, and it's the commission may rotate, or the commission shall rotate officer positions annually. My recommendation was to strike that, but I am going to recommend using the word may instead of shall. So I don't want to strike it. I just want to change shall to may.
Okay, the amendment is to strike the word shall and put may as far as rotate officers. Is there a second to that? I'm not hearing any.
I knew I was going to go down on that one anyway.
Okay, so that one died a slow death.
Yeah, it did. That's okay. You're not always going to, as Commissioner Wilcox knows, you're not always going to be in the majority. So, the other one was Article 3, and it talked about, in the event of shared interest in assignments, the president shall make a recommendation to the commission before action is taken to approve such assignments. And I wanted to strike that for the reason that, because anybody can do that. We have all kinds of commissioners who have different backgrounds, and we can make, I recommend this commissioner do this, I recommend that commissioner. To have the president do that makes it sound unilateral. I have a little bit of an issue with that. I'm okay to bring it back in and change the shall to may, and not strike it.
Okay, so the amendment is the president, instead of shall, it'll be may make a recommendation to the commission before action is taken to approve such assignments, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion.
Oh, the thing is, whether it's may or shall, it was really I think for the president, if we have something up there, I mean, I guess they could put 2 people to put on a position to recommend, but it was really for efficiency's reason that, hey, do you recommend anything on any of these assignments? But I don't think it really makes a difference because they can still make a recommendation.
Any of us can.
Yeah, and personally, I think may is fine simply because I don't want to see the person sitting in the position have the authority to basically say, you shall be on this, you shall be on that, and you shall be. So I think may is fine because I think at the end of the day, it's a consensus of the commission. That should lead us in that direction, so. Okay.
So just
Any
for
other-
clarity of the record, if I could, Commissioner Rosano, and make sure I'm tracking along, you would accept the language of the amended resolution as it was proposed, with the only change being shall to may in that section?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
So the next one was something that, and you'll see a couple of things. You'll see a proposed language to Article 3, Section 9, and then also Section 10. At the advice of legal counsel, she suggested language that kind of combines this through. And this has to do with conflict of interest, and I think it's important to state that. We have a state law, RCW. The difficulty that happens with an elected official is that you're out in the community all the time, and you want to make sure you're constantly bringing back either funding requests or we serve on outside boards, and I think that there was concern, which I get. You want to make sure that the elected official is not personally benefiting by a conflict of interest. So I'll read through what this entire proposed article that Heather Burgess also worked with, but this would be under 910. You'll see it says commissioners who serve as members on outside boards, and this is existing language, whether serving on behalf of the Port Commission or a commissioner's personal capacity, and then strike, and that's all regular language. I'm suggesting striking shall, avoid, but the proposed language is must, and the strike, and then also must comply with all applicable conflict of interest laws, including, and I think it's important to name this too, RCW 42.23, and shall avoid participating in port decisions in which they have a prohibited financial or personal interest. If a commissioner serves on the board of an outside organization that is seeking a contract, funding, or other material benefit from the port, the commissioner shall disclose that relationship to the commission. The commissioner shall recuse themselves from Port Commission deliberations or voting only when required by law, including when the commissioner has a financial or other legally cognizable interest in the matter. Commissioners are encouraged to consult with Port legal counsel when questions arise regarding potential conflicts of interest. Disclosures and recusals resulting from conflicts of interest shall be noted in the minutes. And I think that that's my proposal. And part of the reason that I'm proposing this, again, is because we are elected officials. We need to be cognizant of expenditures of public monies and making sure that we don't gain. But I think that the previous language was too broad, had potential for subjectivity. And I think it was a little bit more of an overreach, but I again think it's really important that we cite Article 42.23. I think that's important. And
Okay, is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Second, okay, discussion or
I
question?
had a
Go ahead,
question for
Commissioner.
Heather.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we've ever actually run into this particular situation. I'm not quite sure, because it usually has to reach a certain amount before it comes to us. But being on the board of an organization doesn't necessarily recuse you from a vote under this thing, because if it's only required by laws, depending on what?
That's correct, Commissioner. So if I could just back up, this was a discussion amongst the committee and then came forward to the commission about how specific some of this language should be. And so I just want to be clear, there's different rules that apply to local government officials than apply to state officials. The ones that apply to state officials are much broader and are also governed by the State Ethics Board, which has its own body of decisions and that are treated with precedential weight. That is not the same for the RCW that's cited here is the correct RCW 4223 for municipal officers, and it really limits conflicts of interest determinations to ones in which the official has a direct,
Yes,
a fairly direct
financial.
financial interest. There's also, though, a thing called a remote interest under that law, and that's also recognized in RCW 4223. And you can have a remote interest if you're serving on a nonprofit board, if, under the law, if you are an officer or a director of that organization. So in that hypothetical, let's assume, Commissioner Ang, that you were on the board of insert Great Tacoma Nonprofit, and you were the president of that board, that would create a remote interest for purpose of that. And what that means is under RCW 4223, you would, in addition to what this says here, you'd have to disclose the existence of that remote interest. You could not use your position as a port commissioner to influence other commissioners, okay, not employees. The statute is clear, it's other commissioners to vote in support of that. And you would have to recuse yourself from the vote, disclose that, and then if the funding or other action passed, it would need to pass without benefit of your vote ever having been counted. So it's kind of obtuse. I'm not an ethics lawyer by trade. I had to read way more of this than I've ever had to, which is great, really great personal growth. Professional as well, but it's a little bit obtuse, but that's the way that works. So the way I read Commissioner Keller's proposed amendments is it's stating you're going to comply with the law, and then it goes on to some explication about what the law requires, but not in the same detail as provided for in the statute. Did I capture that, Commissioner Keller?
Yes, correct. Because under RCW 4223, we're actually in I feel like, less conflict of interest, more strict than state legislators and others, and sometimes even lawyers, in which just by being on the board, you're already conflict of interest. You already have a conflict of interest, whereas this particular one is actually more generous to other officials.
It is the standards, your standards are not low, but the legal standards applicable to municipal officers are not as high. Now, I just want to be clear, the commission can choose as part, and I personally, you have a discussion item later on in your agenda about code of conduct. Another place that you can impose greater obligations on yourselves than state law applies would be by adopting things that aren't applicable to you through modifications to your code or by creating a more formalized code of ethics. So that's another option for you should you choose to apply them. You have great discretion as local officials to decide what to apply to yourselves and then how to enforce it amongst yourselves.
Sure. I always believe in somewhat like, what Commissioner Keller said. Sometimes our communities, nonprofits, and community organizations, even some who do these public comments, that we do bring it back to people. And whether the commission or the port or the organization decides to support it, that should be fine. I think the only issue is if a commissioner acted somewhat retaliatory or some behavioral issues afterwards simply because something that they brought up from community members were denied, then that would be an issue. But otherwise, I don't think I think in my time here, we've never faced any problems with this.
I haven't seen any instance of this since I started in this role in 2021, for whatever that's worth. The commission doesn't routinely approve specific contracts or awards of funding. The commission approves projects, and then those contracts and awards are handled through delegated authority through staff and all your contracting procedures for public procurement.
Go ahead, JT.
Thank you. A question and then maybe a comment. The language saying or voting only when required, shall recuse themselves from Port Commission deliberation or voting only when required by law. Does that preclude a recusal that would be voluntary and not required by law?
I don't believe so, Commissioner Wilcox. I think the intent was to specify when it was mandatory.
Okay.
And there was some discussion amongst the commission about adopting a mandatory standard when the legal standard would be more permissive. So it wouldn't prevent you from voluntarily choosing to do that, and that would be a matter of best practices.
Okay, thank you very much. And here's my comment. A friend warned me against talking about the legislature all the time, so I'll try not to do it much more. But somebody pointed out that the legislature is very different. And one of the reasons I seconded this is it is different from the legislative practice, which is you are not allowed to recuse yourself voluntarily. You have to ask the chair's permission to do that, and it's almost never granted. And I think that the standard there, I'm not indicting the institution or the people there. It is a long time practice, but it puts people in conflicts that they would rather not have. And I think encouraging people to abstain when there is the appearance of a conflict is a really good thing. Having said that, there's some downsides to being on boards as well as elected public officials, and a lot of times you can fill just as important a role by being an advisor and not being on a board as well. And I would urge people to think about that role as well.
Thank you. I have a quick question. All 5 of us are members of the Tacoma Propeller Club. If the Propeller Club was to come and present something, does this excuse us from being able to vote?
I don't believe so, Commissioner. Again, we're going to apply the remote interest test, so if any of you are officers or directors of the Propeller Club, then that could present an issue. Or if you had some other indirect financial interest in the Propeller Club that I'm not aware of, that could be a problem, but as long as nobody's an officer or director, it would not prevent that.
Okay. JT.
Yeah, thank you. There was one other thing that I meant to mention that maybe should be understood before this vote. An abstention, in effect, acts like a no vote because we have a mandated majority that includes a majority of the entire commission. It's not recalculated because there's an abstention. So people should be aware that if it's a contested vote, that's not a freebie. That ends up functioning as a no vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Keller.
And I think we need to be careful too, because I think the word recuse, if you talk about recusal, you're not just talking about abstention, you're also talking about not being able to comment on it. And I think that, in Robert's rules, they even ask you to leave the room and you can't hear any of the deliberations either. So that's where I'm saying that, we don't want to be so restrictive except by law, what we're required to be doing by law. I've never seen it being used or abused. I think I'll give you an example for myself. I'm on the Workforce Central Board. We had a contract that was that they won from the Port of Tacoma for workforce development training. I have in the and this was in 12/19 of 23, where we voted for a contract. It was a $525,000 contract for a potential of 3 years. I couldn't. I wanted to recuse myself because that's a lot of money, and I just thought that it was appropriate for me to do so. We made sure that it was in the minutes that I abstained, and I didn't comment on it, but I also, and it was in the minutes that I was on that board, and that's why I was abstaining. So, there's common sense, and I think that each of us know what other boards we're on, and if there's discussion or they're concerned, that's why I put in there to go to legal counsel, or even, I didn't put in here the port auditor, but I know that I've talked to Don Kelly a couple of times about those kinds of things, and he's responsible for keeping us on task as well, and Heather for our legal well-being as well, in protecting the port's interests. The port is her client, so that's why I wanted to put that in there, because if you're not sure, come to legal counsel, come to the port auditor.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment presented signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Okay, this is my last one, I promise. And I'm very geeky about bylaws, so it's just one of those things that I really like to look at, because it's our compass, and how we do business together. So the next one is in Article 4, Officer Duties. And Heather, help me with this one, because I have mine pulled out, but anything that's redlined in there, anything that's highlighted is me adding, but the red lines are already language in.
No, in this particular instance, Commissioner, I hadn't proposed any change, the committee hadn't recommended any changes to Article 4, Section 1 at all. So the red lines are all your amendments.
Okay,
And then I just highlighted the whole thing because it was a change.
gotcha. I just wanted to be clear about that. So you'd probably advise me to read that entire paragraph as my amendment. Is that correct?
That is a really great question.
I would say yes, go ahead.
I would go for it, yeah.
It's not long. I promise everybody it's not long. So, but it's in Article 4, Section 1, which is officer duties, and describing the duties of the president. And the language says, the president shall preside at all public meetings of the commission and at executive sessions of the commission. The president shall ensure that the meetings are conducted in an orderly, impartial, and transparent manner consistent with the bylaws and applicable law. The president shall sign all resolutions, contracts, official correspondence, and other instruments on behalf of the commission only when such actions have been duly authorized by the commission. The president shall perform all other duties that are incident to the office expressly assigned by the commission. The president shall authorize the issuance of notices for regular and special meetings of the commission as provided in Article 5 of these bylaws. No action of the president shall supersede, modify, or circumvent decisions of the commission, nor shall the president exercise unilateral authority except where expressly permitted by these bylaws or a vote of the commission. The president shall not direct staff, commit commission resources, or represent positions of the commission without prior authorization. Any one commissioner may call for a future special meeting during a regular or special meeting. Such a meeting shall be scheduled and held upon by approval of a quorum of the commission. So some of this language is still in the old bylaws, but I'm basically saying I want to make sure that the president knows their marching orders, and they need to come to the commission to be able to speak on behalf of the commission, since we've already identified them as being the spokesperson for the commission.
Okay, is there a second to that amendment?
Well, I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Questions or comments?
I guess I have a
Commissioner
question
Eng.
for Heather. So what is the effect of this amendment, and how does it differ from what we have? Like, what is really the impact or improvement?
So are you looking at a copy that has the highlighted yellow on it? Or are you looking at Commissioner
I'm looking at
Keller's?
Commissioner Keller's amendment, the one she just read, and how does that differ from what
That's
we
not-
current?
I read the highlighted one
Okay.
that you have, that Heather.
Well,
Like, how does it really differ, and what's the impact and the improvement for like what we're doing? Okay.
so as presented, the resolution did not have changes to this paragraph at all. So on the sheet that I just handed you, Commissioner Eng, the highlighted section that starts at the bottom of page 4 and goes on to the next page, all the red lines that you see in that section are Commissioner Keller's proposed amendments. So the original, all the redlined additional language, such as the president shall ensure that meetings are conducted in an orderly, impartial, and transparent manner, and so forth, at the bottom of page 4. And then at top of page 5, the inserted language, all those red lines that you see, those are all Commissioner Keller's amendments. So if you approve this amendment as presented, you would be adding all of those provisions to Article 4, Section 1.
While Commissioner Eng is looking, I do have a quick question because I'm a little bit concerned. When you mention official correspondence, during the course of the month as we move forward, there's a lot of times that letters are sent out signed by the president of the commission on behalf of the commission, basically, to talk about, I'll use the Puyallup Tribe for an example, congratulating them on some things or whatever they did. But if I'm reading this right, I can't, president could not do that unless they got the approval of the entire commission, or a majority of the commission. And that's one of the concerns I have.
So the current language already has the official correspondence provision in it, and without Commissioner Keller's changes, it would read, the president shall sign all resolutions, contracts, official correspondence, and other instruments on behalf of the commission as authorized by the commission. So that language in your existing bylaws already implies that the president is only signing official correspondence which has somehow been authorized by the commission. That's what it currently says.
Well, okay, then have we been not in compliance with that based on the years we've been having to have correspondence go out from a president?
I'm not sure I want to give you that opinion in public session. I think, again, the bylaws are not subject to independent legal enforcement, so I think it's a matter of practice of the commission. I think this, arguably, Commissioner Keller's language is more stringent than as authorized, because as an attorney, I could probably find several ways to interpret how something had been previously authorized. Especially when it comes to things like tribal correspondence. And I do, and in most instances, correct me if I'm waiting for, I get hit with a shoe or something over here from Executive Director Johnson, but ordinarily if there's going to be a formal letter or something that goes out, that does get brought to the commission for approval before it's transmitted, and then the president signs it.
Commissioner Eng?
I guess I was curious, with the changing of language, what exactly was it, what problem was it trying to solve or improve?
That would be a question for Commissioner Keller.
Yeah, I think that there have been times in past history where if it's not in the bylaws, if it's not expressed, people have questioned or think that they have the authority to go ahead and do something. That has happened. I think it has been corrected, but I think it's just one of those things where I want to make sure that we're not having a situation where the president is either the king or the queen of the commission and can make unilateral decisions. We're a collaborative body. I'm not trying to gunk up the process. That's why I didn't change any of the, the things that we were doing before, but it's just kind of talking about the fact that it's an administrative role. It's helping, like most boards, the president and the secretary are the ones who sign on behalf of the commission or the board. It's not changing anything like that, but it's just making sure that they do not, and the key word in there is no action of the president shall supersede, modify, or circumvent decisions of the commission, nor shall the president exercise unilateral authority except where expressly permitted by these bylaws or a vote of the commission. So that's all that is. It's just identifying. It's not that, necessarily I'm thinking it's going to happen, but there's always the potential that somebody can say, well, if it's not in here, then I can go ahead and do it. So not saying it's not going to happen. So that's my purpose in that.
Okay, I'm just going to say all this focus on the president's powers all started when I became the president. the issues about the president being so powerful and making unilateral decisions. I'm just going to say it, I'll focus on the president was when I became president. But I haven't really seen like the worst problems of the presidency. I guess I felt like the port lived through all of our presidencies and it was fine and it thrived. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to take it personally, but I've just noticed this focus on the presidency and its powers and it's having too much power when I became the president. But I think our presidencies all survived, or the port survived through all of them. But I just want to know, like, what are we changing to make it better? That's all.
Okay. Go ahead, JT.
Thank you. A question regarding the provision with staff, and having served as a chair of a few organizations, it's, at least in my experience, and by the way, not having much history in this one, it's pretty common, first of all, for the understanding that the executive director is in charge, and the board or the commission hires and supervises the executive director. Not a lot of direct contact with staff, but it's also pretty common for there to be kind of a collegial approach, and an executive director can tell one of his staff, go check with the chair, see what they have to say. And human organizations are not always mechanistic, and they don't function with a perfect compliance to every rule. So I guess I'm asking, does this amendment preclude that kind of contact where the executive director might have an informal system of asking some of his staff to be contacting the chair as the first among equals and the representative of the other elected commissioners?
I don't read that it would. I think what this is getting at is something broader than that. I mean, I have Commissioner Keller's amendment, so she'd have to speak more directly to it, but I don't read it as prohibiting that kind of informal contact or coordination as between the staff, the executive director, and the commission president.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments with regards to this amendment?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to comment again if you
Go
don't
ahead.
mind.
No, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm very new in this group, although I've been around groups like it for a while, and I seconded the motion because I wanted to hear the discussion and try to understand it a little more fully. A second doesn't mean that you're a yes vote. And I feel like this is getting at something that's important. And if we had not, if we had dictated that the chair didn't have to rotate, or excuse me, if we had dictated that definitely the chair didn't rotate, I would feel more strongly about this amendment. But we're still operating in a atmosphere where it's probably likely that that rotation is going to continue. And I guess it's my observation that there's such a thing as a tyranny of a majority, and it really happens when the majority thinks that it's never going to be part of the minority. That's not what's happening here. If you rotate the chair every year, there's always the thought that if I misuse this position and use it to abuse somebody else, it could happen to me. That's a pretty good human check and balance. And so I guess I'm going to go from seconding this to a no, not because it's a bad idea, but because I feel like perhaps it needs a little more process amongst this whole commission, rather than voting it in now as a amendment to the bylaws.
Okay, any other comments? I have a quick one. I will be opposing this also. I can see this being adjusted a little bit. I can see where I could support no action of the president shall supersede, modify, or circumvent decisions of the commission. I can see that being put in there. And then maybe some things with regards to the president shall not direct staff. The president has one person, I think, under his preview, and that's our executive director. And that's what it should go through. So I'll be opposing it, not because I'm completely opposed to everything in here. I just think it needs some more work to better define that, and that's how I feel. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay.
Again, I know what it feels like to be in the minority. It's okay.
But-
It's a democratic process.
Yeah, and thank you very much for bringing all this stuff. I think it's critically important that we make sure that we have the dedication to make sure that what we're doing is not only transparent, but also in the right manner. And I think that's what you were striving to do, and I appreciate that.
Commissioner, just a reminder that you still need to take a vote on the whole
Yes, we
resolution.
are going to take the
Okay.
whole vote on the whole thing as amended, okay? So with that, all those in favor of the motion as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, what I'd like to do is adjust the agenda right now a little bit,
Yep,
if I
go
don't
ahead.
have any objections. I see Matt is here. So Adam, excuse me. What I'd like to do is move that, if that's all
I
right.
was
I'll
going
let
to
you
just
introduce it.
suggest, if we, Mr. Kulas just arrived, and so we could make a third amendment to the agenda
Yeah.
and put him in right now.
Yep, you're up.
Love it. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Adam Kulas, Chief of Schools for Tacoma Public Schools, and it is my privilege to present the 2026 Washington Association of School Administrators Community Leadership Award to Port of Tacoma Executive Director Eric Johnson. Executive Director Johnson has been a steadfast champion for students and a valued partner to our tireless commitment to better. Through his leadership, alongside the dedicated team at the Port of Tacoma and its commissioners, he has helped advance a shared vision that connects education, workforce development, and economic opportunity. His leadership has been instrumental in amplifying initiatives like Jobs 253 and the Maritime 253 Skills Center that will launch this fall. He understands that preparing the next generation requires more than conversation. It requires action, partnership, and investment. Under his leadership, students have increased access to meaningful experiences, industry connection, and pathways to a livable wage careers in one of the most important sectors of our regional economy. What stands out most about Executive Director Johnson is his commitment to collaboration. He brings people together around a common purpose and consistently asks how we can create greater opportunities for the youth of our region. Thank you for your leadership, your partnership, and your belief in the potential of Tacoma and the South Puget Sound region students. On behalf of Washington Association of School Administrators and Tacoma Public Schools, we extend our sincere appreciation to the Port of Tacoma Commissioners for their leadership and commitment to students. Executive Director Johnson, as a representative of that leadership and the incredible Port team, congratulations on receiving the 2026 WASA Community Leadership Award.
Get some pictures.
I like pictures. I normally don't read scripts, but I want to.
I did not know until I was sitting there just now that they were giving this award to me. I honestly thought this was given to the port. So I accepted on behalf of the Port of Tacoma because that's who I represent. And that spirit of leadership and collaboration really comes from the commission and from the staff. So I'm just the vessel that carries it around. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. And Eric, well deserved.
Yes.
And just for the public notification, anytime there's an award to be presented, we'll stop the agenda, we'll change anything we have to make sure we get there, okay? Okay, Eric, you want to introduce the next item, which is F on the action? And they're coming, that's perfect.
Yeah, this is, the hits just keep coming. Hear the hit music, I mean. This is continuation of our IT Dynamics 365 contract amendment. You'll recall that we've been going through a rather significant ERP improvement process where we're shrinking the number of platforms that we have into a smaller number, more under Microsoft. And this is an iteration of that work, and I'm going to turn it over to Martin and his team to proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Martin Adamson. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the Port of Tacoma. I'm joined today by Mark Moore, who is the Senior Manager of IT Project Management, and at the end, Matt Andrew, who's the Director of Enterprise Applications, and this is Matt's first presentation to the Commission. So thank you, Matt, for joining us. We're seeking authorization today for two separate actions relating to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. That is the Port's Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, software platform. And both actions relate to D365, but they are for two different bodies of work, and they are to be conducted under two separate contracts. Those actions are contract amendment authorization to add $120,000 plus Washington State sales tax to the Dynamics 365 real estate contract, PA 00000358, with Crow LLP to support the planned real estate system enhancements project. And the second authorization is contract amendment to add $400,000 plus Washington State sales tax to the Dynamics 365 Finance and Procurement Contract 071709 with Crow LLP to enable continued finance system improvements through the end of the current contract. With that, I will hand over to Mark. Oh no, sorry, one more slide. Background. We've brought requests and updates relating to Dynamics 365 to the Commission on several occasions over the last 4 years. We originally selected Crow LLC as our Dynamics 365 partner through a competitive RFP selection process, and the Commission authorized the implementation of that platform back in 2003. The implementation was completed on schedule and on budget in 2024, and following the implementation project, the Commission authorized a further enhancements project, which is now in its final stages. And then in August of last year, as we continued to expand the ERP platform, the Commission authorized a project to implement real estate management within D365, and that completed in April of 2026, again on time and under budget. The two authorizations being sought today relate to ongoing enhancements to continue improving and adding additional functionality to the Dynamics 365 platform. Now I'm going to hand it over to Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Hello, Commissioners. We started the design and development activities for the D365 real estate system in September of last year after project and contract authorization in August Commission meeting. The project went very smoothly due to great collaboration and engagement between the Port and the NWSA real estate teams and our finance department, IT department. The testing and training completed earlier this year, and we went live on time in April and under budget by about $60K. We've completed both the May and June billing on the new system on time and with no major issues. And the new system enables reduced manual reconciliation effort from our real estate teams, improved reporting and compliance with GASB 87 financial accounting standard, which our accounting team is very happy with. And we all have improved integration with our geographic information system, so all Port staff have more information about leases available in that system. Up next for the real estate system is a planned enhancements project, which we often include after new system implementations. This will allow us to include additional capabilities and changes that we identified during the implementation and shortly after go live. The project is expected to run from July through Q2 of next year. We're requesting an additional $120,000 for the D365 real estate contract with Crow to support this project. And now I'll hand it over to Matt to talk about the second authorization request.
Thank you, Mark. The second authorization is for our finance and procurement contract. It's the same D365 platform under a different agreement with Crow. We're asking to add $400,000 to our existing contract. This brings the total authorization to $3.65 million and keeps our improvements moving forward through March of next year, streamlining procurement, sharpening our financial reporting for capital decisions, and enhancing the platform's capabilities. This request is funded within our current CIP budgets, and we're planning a new competitive RFP in early 2027 to select our support vendor going forward.
So back to the actions that we're requesting today. To restate them, the contract amendment authorization to add $120,000 plus Washington State sales tax to the D365 real estate contract PA 00000358 with Crow LLP to support the planned real estate system enhancements project. And the second request, contract amendment authorization to add $400,000 plus Washington State sales tax to the D365 finance and procurement contract 071709 with Crow LLP to enable continued finance system improvements through the end of the current contract. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Martin. What I will do is entertain both of these under one proposal. So is there a motion to that effect?
So moved?
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Eng, second by Commissioner Keller. Questions or comments?
I guess I'm going to comment. I was like, you're right. This is a very ongoing IT infrastructure ask, but I'm going to be supportive because you are supporting real estate, which has done very well this year. There are cash flow. So I'm like, anything to enhance the work and help real estate, I'm all for, because they are the cash flow of this port organization. And then I saw ERP functionality, which was the $400,000, and I wanted to, whoever is doing our grants, to have that support. And I always said, it's people. Like, if technology helps our people, not the other way around, complying with the technology, the technology should be supporting. So this money's going towards that? Yes. If it's not, I'm kind of like, But I will be supportive. I just hope we don't go beyond budget at this point.
We will not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things somebody, I think it was you, Martin, that said, or maybe Mark did, someone said under budget. So we always like hearing that, okay?
We try our best.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Next item. Tyra.
Oh, there's one.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Tyra Diefenbach, Senior Manager for the Real Estate Department here at the Port of Tacoma. And today I am here for the first reading of the TR Port Commerce Center LLC amended and restated ground leases. Again, there's no action requested at this first meeting today. The following action request will be made at the July 16th meeting. There's been a change in the meeting date since these slides were prepared. At that meeting, our authorization or request will be to authorize the executive director or his designee to enter into certain ground leases with TR Port Commerce Center LLC for the following premises: approximately 11 acres located at 2102 Milwaukee Way, approximately 7 acres located at 2144 Milwaukee Way, approximately 5 acres located at 2120 Milwaukee Way, approximately 2 acres located at 2144 Milwaukee Way, and approximately 25 acres located at 2309 Milwaukee Way. On this slide is a vicinity map showing the locations of each of the ground leases. Here's an up-close lease premises map showing the 5 separate leaseholds. Just for some background, TR Port Commerce is our tenant. They have 5 separate ground leases with the port, and the buildings and improvements are actually owned and operated and maintained by the tenant. TR Port Commerce is owned by the Teachers Retirement System of Illinois, and in 2015 they purchased the buildings from Northwest Building Company, and then at that time were assigned the ground leases with the port. TR Port Commerce has a debt maturity in 2027, which is why they came to us for this request to amend and restate their ground leases. We're going to be requesting to add some time to the leases and also enact a rent increase. So these ground leases have been in place since 1986, with the current expiration date of July 2066, if all the current optional terms are utilized. So our proposed lease terms for the amended and restated leases will be to keep the use the same as in the current leases, but priority use to businesses which either use the port's marine terminal facilities or provide goods and services to such users. The commencement date, these will be backdated to January 1st of this year. The lease term would be 50 years, expiring December of 2075, with a 20-year optional extension upon mutual agreement. Initial rent for each of the leaseholds is shown on this slide, as well as a rent adjustment. We have negotiated a fixed 3.5% each year with fair market resets every 10 years that come by mutual agreement. And security deposit will be equal to 12 months rent plus the leasehold tax. I also wanted to note that they included our standard insurance provisions of $2 million for general liability and $1 million for auto. On this slide is their subtenant profile, and also breaks down employees per acre. Their largest subtenant would be Quaker Sales and Distribution, which is PepsiCo, at 75 employees, or about 2.5 per acre. This slide breaks down the financial impacts of their current rent per month per acre, with a proposed rent increase to put them at market rent at $8,000 an acre. And as you can see, that would be an additional about $1.5 million year of lease revenue to the port. And with that, again, no action is requested at this first reading. The following request will be made at the July 16th meeting. Authorization for the executive director to enter into certain ground leases with TR Port Commerce Center for the following premises as shown below on the slide. And with that, I'll take any questions or discussion.
Well, thank you. As you stated, there will be no vote on this, but there can be questions and/or comments. So does anybody have a question or comment? Just a quick comment. Well done. Look forward to next month.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, our next item, and Alicia is walking up.
All right, good afternoon, Commissioners. Elisa Praskovich, Chief External Strategy Officer for the record. We are going to talk about international travel for the remainder of 2026. With that, I'm going to request approval for your international travel for the second half of the year. And as we always do, we take each trip at a time and vote on those individually. These trips support really the Northwest Seaport Alliance and are targeted towards customer visits, the first of which is in the early fall, and that trip is to Asia for customer visits, and different countries to visit could include Vietnam, Taipei, Singapore, Korea, etc. The estimated cost per commissioner, of course, is an approximation at this point. We do not have exact details from the Alliance on dates and countries and what specific order. And of course, you add recent escalations in fuel costs, so that number might seem quite high, but that's based on really air travel data. So with that, I'll look for your action to approve this Seaport Alliance customer visit to Asia.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Moved by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Eng. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the second trip is the annual trip to Europe and various countries within the European Union, again focused on customers in Europe. I still don't have specifics from the Alliance, again, on exact countries, dates, times. We do have an estimated cost per commissioner at $15,000, and these trips would occur in November or early December. And with that, I'm seeking your approval for this trip to Europe later this year.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Keller,
Second.
second by Commissioner Eng. Comments and/or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Thank you for that rough work. Okay, we are at new business, if I'm not mistaken. Do any commissioners have any non-action new business items they'd like to present? Seeing none, we'll go to committee reports. Do any commissioners have any reports to give? I see none there. Okay, now issue briefings is where we are. Port of Tacoma Commission Code of Conduct, Governments and Conduct. It's in front of you. I don't know if you have it on there. Go ahead. Heather, you going to say something?
I just have, I did a little presentation for you, Commissioner, but I'm back. I get all the fun topics for the commission. I just did a little background here. In your materials, you had a copy of your existing Code of Conduct resolution, as well as the original one that was adopted in March of 2022. Back in November, Commissioner Keller brought forward a new business item request looking for an independent, and I'm summarizing here, there was more to this request, but had requested an independent review. Commissioner McCarthy then proposed a series of amendments, and discussion of this was deferred due to other business. So really just looking for the commission to provide some guidance as to how you'd like to proceed with reviewing your Code of Governance and Conduct. I prepared this list, and this was a non-exhaustive list of options for the commission to consider, from do nothing to internal review to set up a committee to do a more broad external review. And my recommendation, if you choose external review, would be that we come back with a scope of work for what that external review would look like, and get the commission to approve that as a subsequent meeting. So just looking for some direction as to how you would like to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just open this up for conversation right now first and see if there's any comments or questions anybody has. Then go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the proposal that I did earlier, and the purpose of it was to have an external review to see about having a panel that investigates, an outside ethics board or panel, similar to the City of Tacoma, similar to the Port of Seattle, similar to Pierce County. All of our municipal governments around us have an external board. It's extremely difficult to have sitting commissioners. I think currently in our Code of Conduct, we have the commission president and vice president as the conduct committee. It's a lot of extra work for them to do. Would be what other governments do is that they direct then any of that to an external review panel, and that was my recommendation. So I would still recommend an external review. If the commission does not think that we need an external panel to do that, then I would recommend no action. I don't see, if you don't, again, if this was brought up in December last year, that was my request, so.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ring.
Well, having been through some of these processes, I mean, just kind of suggestions that maybe I could see is perhaps when there is a complaint against a commissioner, or I guess there could be, or executive, that if there is to be an outside board to review it, that it is a professional board made up of employment law firms or outside, no political interest, nobody sitting there that is of interest to the port. This is truly professional ethics and outside law enforcement. And I do want to state to everyone here and to the public that we have usually used outside firms. The commissioners are not Inspector Gadget. We have not inspected and asked questions and all these things. This is usually done by an outside firm, usually a legal firm, and also outside independent investigators all the time. This is not, so when people say like commission investigates themselves, that's not as accurate of a picture, because we don't do the investigation. An outside independent investigator is hired, an outside firm is hired, and usually for most cases, we've asked for their recommendations about what to do. It is never just, well, maybe except for the last one, but we usually follow their recommendations. We ask for their recommendations, and we usually follow them. I think what I see maybe could be improved is that if it is awkward for commissioners to receive complaints about other commissioners, like an outside professional board to receive those complaints and to review them. And then also to be able to give recommendations about what to do. I think that's I don't know if that requires like an extra consultant or whatnot, but those are a couple of the things that I think might have been helpful through a lot of the cases that I've, I guess, been part of or been on oversight.
I find myself in a little bit of a difficult position, having been the president and having gone through this. I think it's critically important that we have a professional outside entity like Commissioner Ang was talking about do that, simply because everyone has personalities, everybody gets along or doesn't get along or has different things. We should not be governing ourselves. We should be, don't get me wrong by that, I mean, we should make sure we act in a professional manner. If by chance we don't, if it's staff to staff or whatever the case may be, we need someone that has the professionalism not to let personalities get involved. And that's why I would encourage us looking at some outside entity, and I'll let legal and Eric figure out who that can be and bring it to us. But I think that's the way we need to go in the future. Any other comments? If there's no other comments, I don't know.
Just one comment.
Go ahead.
We don't need to adopt everything that Port of Seattle does or some like high corporation. I also want to state the fact I have been on a couple of these things, and I'm just going to say they're not the majority of what hits newspapers because there's not that level. You know, I guess I'm just going to say that, like in my experience here, you know, so I'm just going to say we don't need to adopt the most complex or the most complicated for the biggest governments or corporations here at the Port of Tacoma. I don't know what kind of commissioner's going to come after us that could be like a villain, but right now I don't see that. So, you know what I mean? Like right now it's like, okay, this is like dealing with elementary. But, you know, maybe in the future there could be a villain era commissioner that comes on here.
What I would recommend, if there's no objections to the commission, is ask legal along with Eric to bring something back to us with regards to who you would recommend moving forward with their background and some history, so we have a better understanding. I think that's the direction the majority wants to go in. Okay? I'm not hearing a big yell or anybody jumping on the table, so with that, we will look forward to hearing from you. Okay? Thank you both. Announcements. Eric, do you have any announcements?
Just two quick ones. I should have started the meeting with this. You'll notice Helen Hickman, our clerk, is not sitting next to me today. It's Bernie Rodriguez from our real estate department. That's because Helen is taking some clerk training this week. She's at a conference. And so Bernie stepped in. Bernie, thank you very much for all of your help today. The second announcement is that we've moved, I think Tyra mentioned this earlier, we moved our July meeting up to the week prior because our original date was right over the top of the WPPA Commissioner Seminar. Many of you like to attend that Commissioner Seminar. I would encourage you to go, in fact. So to avoid that conflict, we moved it up to the Thursday prior. I think it's the 16th of July. So I'll make that note for the record. And those are the only comments I have.
Okay, Commissioner's comment. Any Commissioner Keller?
I want to extend a very happy Father's Day, and also to all staff, all commissioners. I want to thank you for your service to your family. The role of the father is just as important as the mother, and greatly appreciated.
Great. Commissioner Ang?
I just want to congratulate Director Johnson again for winning that award. It is well-deserved. And to all the team that supported it, all the executive staff and support team, it really is probably one of the most unique, and I'm going to say nearly impossible, probably would have been impossible for almost all organizations and team. if not for the Port of Tacoma and Tacoma Public Schools and the unprecedented collaboration that happened with our community to get the Maritime 253 and the new Tacoma Maritime Center to be done. So, and it's with your leadership, your strategic mind about the policy landscape, your ways to engage community, and I would say tenacity. I think that's what I can say about that. The port's just getting things done on time and on budget, which that wasn't added by that award, but that's always on my mind, that it was done on time and on budget with what people would say would have been impossible, but wasn't impossible because of you and everyone here. So I just want to thank you for that.
Very good. Commissioner Wilcox, anything?
I'm recusing myself from further comment.
I just want to always thank staff for what they do, but I also want to give a big shout out to the Puyallup Tribe for their parade and their big welcome to the World Cup. It was a great event. Commissioner Ang, I saw her in the car waving, and Commissioner McCarthy in the parade and stuff. So it was really well done, and the Puyallup Tribe, I can say this with a complete conviction, is they do everything first class. And it was that way at that time. So with that, no further business. I see it at 2:10. We will stand adjourned. Thank you all.